Now you try it.
First, I reinitialize a neutron stream.
Precisely. Very good. Now align the quantum filters.
This is a bitch.
Excuse me?
Oh, not you. The microscope.
Set a course for love.
Ah, yes. One of your earth emotions.
Glad I found you.
Let's get married.
Delete the wife.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Deep Space Love, podcast about love and Trek by a Trekkie couple, myself, Nicole, and with me,
Joe.
And we are joined today by a guest. You may know him as an actor, both on stage and on screen. He's also an activist with the Insulin for All campaign, a dungeon master, and a lifelong Trekkie who played the Andorian Rin in Star Trek Discovery's third season. Welcome, Noah Averbach-Katz.
Wow, thank you very much for having me. That was an amazing intro. I would also add that I am a preeminent expert and scholar of love in Trek, having lived and really been inside the experience. So I feel like I'm extremely well suited for this podcast.
Absolutely, we agree.
Yeah, you're the perfect guest for this.
And forgive me if my iced coffee is clinking in the background, but I do feel like that's just somehow an appropriate drink. It's iced coffee in the morning and a glass of wine in the evening for this.
It's a good pairing. So we do have a couple guest questions. If you'd be happy to answer. The first is I think it's pretty easy. Maybe why do you love Star Trek?
Maybe the easiest and the hardest question you could ask. Why do I love Star Trek? Oh, I love Star Trek because, God, there's so many answers to this. So I'm going to say I love Star Trek because it's just a great way to get to connect with friends and family and just have a real point of connection with people who are close to you and people who you've never met before. How about that?
I love it.
That's great. Yeah,
it's entirely true. I love seeing the. I'm fairly new to like Twitter as like a social media, but like Trek Twitter, seeing the interactions on there and the way that people connect who didn't necessarily like know each other in person, but like share the love for Trek has been really cool to witness.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed being on there and getting to meet people and hang out and chat. It's been a lot of fun.
Agreed. So moving on to the next question, what would you consider, and I know sometimes it changes depending on where we're at in our life, kind of your favorite or home base show or crew within the franchise?
I feel like I was on a big Enterprise kick, but Mary and I have started moving towards DS9. So I think I'm going to go with DS9 for now, but I reserve the right to change that at any moment for any reason.
Of course. DS9's great.
Can't go wrong with Deep Space Nine.
I think Deep Space Nine is, I think when we watched Deep Space Nine, I feel like that was one of the ones of the 90s era shows that you kind of see some of the strongest like character arcs over the whole show, and I feel like it makes it like it feels more like a family sometimes as a viewer. You're kind of like, oh, I'm like watching them grow and I'm growing with them, and it's like, yeah, it's a good answer for a home base crew. Like I feel like I can kind of like point to like parts in their storyline, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah, so that's a great answer.
Definitely, and there's just always those episodes which are, that are, it's Cheers in space, and you just really get to hang out at the bar with people.
Exactly. Yeah. You guys are currently going through DS9?
We're like dipping in and out of season 1, basically. Not a full rewatch, but that's sort of when we put on a Trek show. That's sort of what we dive into now.
Awesome. Love it.
I also feel like out of a lot of the shows, I feel like Deep Space Nine was a little bit more comfortable with having resolutions to episodes that maybe didn't make you feel.
Yes, not everything had a perfect bow all the time.
Yes.
Definitely. Yeah, that's definitely true.
And so the last question is, if you if you could go on a date with any Star Trek character,
See, this
it
feels
could,
like a trap. This question feels like an absolute trap.
it could be romantic, or it
Mm.
can be platonic if that's not, just just like just grab a beer with one of them, or a
Or an iced coffee.
date. Yeah,
Mhm, thank you.
absolutely.
Well, I do get to go on dates with a Trek actor constantly, so that is awesome. Who would I get a how about me and Miles O'Brien just getting absolutely wasted, night on the town, stumbling from bar to bar, no idea how I got home. I think that's my answer. Just absolute rager with Miles.
I could see that happening.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Miles, like, for sure, out of all of it, especially because you're on Deep Space Nine right now. Yeah,
There you go.
maybe some holodeck adventure, not holodeck, holosuite adventures.
Holosuite.
All those
Yeah.
sweet adventures. Perfect. Yeah,
But
he's paying
Bashir's
though.
somewhere. Miles needs a partner for the holosuite.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thanks for answering those. We think it's kind of fun just to sort of get a sense of, where you're at in your Trek life.
Well, you're very welcome.
So, diving into the episode, we're talking about an Enterprise episode. Season, was it? I wrote it down.
Season 2, episode 14.
Thank you.
2/14, Valentine's Day.
Oh,
Amazing.
Yeah.
I did not put that together. Well done.
Really just did, like, literally just a second ago. Put that
Perfect.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
So I'm going to do a quick synopsis of the episode. The episode, T'Pol is diagnosed with a possibly fatal neurological disease as a result of a mind meld. Meanwhile, one of Phlox's wives visits Enterprise and becomes very interested in Trip. Dun, dun, dun. So we're actually, as being the love podcast that we are, we're probably going to talk quite a bit about the B plot of this episode, but I do think it'll be kind of fun to dig a little bit into the A plot because it's pretty heavy and there's quite a bit to dig into and unpack there as well. So, but I think maybe we just kind of start with some general thoughts. So, so Noah, since you're the guest, you want to begin? What did you think of this episode?
What did I think of this episode? It's a very Enterprise episode where it's like they're diving into something and you're sort of holding on for dear life. You're like, oh my God, like how is this going to shake out? Are they going to make the right move? Who was writing this episode? Who made the creative decisions on this episode? You're sort of white knuckling it to the end of the episode. And I just feel I feel like this episode is such a great window onto what the early aughts were like and why nobody ever wants to go back there.
Nicole, what did you think?
So we initially when we were choosing this the episode of the podcast, and we were like, okay, we were going to talk about Trip and Phlox's wife, and I totally forgot that this was the A plot of that episode. I totally didn't realize that they were paired together, and so when we sat down to watch it, I was like, oh my God, wait, this is stigma. This is it's so. Yeah, it's a bit heavy compared to sort of the silly, like, flirtatious B plot of Phlox's wife FEEZAL and Trip. So it's a little bit of like, you feel like you're zigzagging all over the place, kind of like you said, white knuckling it. Like, oh gosh, we're down on the planet, and Archer's yelling at Vulcan doctors, and then we go back up to the Enterprise, and there's weird, like, sexual innuendo talk about the microscope, and then you go back to, like, T'Pol, very seriously talking about being violated and attacked, and is all over the place. But I mean, yeah, I like I know I'm hesitating, like, the A plot with T'Pol. I mean, I think there's a lot of good kind of going on there. Maybe it was a little bit, apparently they tried to make it subtle. I was reading about
They tried to make it subtle?
Not in your face, but I feel like it's a little bit in your face. But I think it's like kind of important points being made. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And then I think Trip and Phlox's wife is just, it's very funny, and kind of endearing in a way. And I don't know. Yeah, we can dive. I don't want to like to say too much before we dive into like the different aspects of it, but yeah, it's an interesting episode and quite a ride.
Yeah, I feel like the B plot, the FEEZAL trip and FEEZAL B plot is actually kind of like a perfectly paced B plot. Like it's just given like what the content of the A plot aside, it's like a perfect little window into that little plot arc, and just like that, it was just given perfect enough to breathe. So I really like that. I thought that was done well. I think the A plot has a lot of really good intentions. I like a lot of aspects of it. There are pieces that I think we'll get into quick here and say that were not awesome, and like you said, Noah, like why we might not want to go back to that era in some capacity. But there was, I think there's a lot to like in this episode too. This for context for anyone listening, this is kind of a follow-up episode to an earlier Enterprise episode. It's, if you want to go back, it's season 1 episode 17, where it's called Fusion, where the crew meets the Vulcans, who kind of don't really embrace the traditional logic and kind of try to use their emotions more, and they use mind melds, which is at this point in Vulcan development is more of a taboo. And then one of the Vulcans initiates a mind meld with T'Pol against her will, and that's sort of how she got this disease, unfortunately. And this is a follow up to that. So you don't need to watch it, but it kind of adds some layers of context to it, I'd say. But yeah, those are kind of my general thoughts of the episode. But yeah, you want to get into some more?
Well, towards the end, I was like, what on earth? Like, why did they even pair these two? Like, what line could you draw between the two plots going on? And actually, it kind of settled pretty quickly on the concept of, or the theme of intimacy, and kind of the different ways intimacy can be experienced. So I actually think that was it's very interesting. And I think that's kind of going to be the theme of kind of what we talk about today, is just the way cultures, the way the intimacy is different based on your culture and your personal experience, and the ways in which, sometimes when you're people from different cultures or different perspectives are either discussing intimacy or trying to be intimate with each other, the confusion and sometimes rifts that can happen there. So I think that's going to be an interesting thing to discuss.
Well, I want to just get into immediately them smelling each other.
Indeed. Yeah. I actually thought that was,
I'm into that. I feel like I need to start doing that more often. just really publicly smelling each other. It's like, it's just right there. Everybody's watching. It'd be like if you saw your wife at work and you're just like, let's just absolutely make out right now. Let's just go for it. And everyone's watching and being like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, and that's definitely the reaction as soon as they see each other for the first time. Trip and Archer are they kind of look at each other like, this is weird. What are we witnessing? But yeah, and it's I think it was a cool sort of different way for them to embrace in a way without like they don't hug or they don't kiss in the way that like humans typically do in other cultures in Trek. But yeah, this I presume smelling each other's, we have pheromones, I suppose. Like
maybe it's just their breath.
Scent.
Maybe they smell each other's breath.
Just breathe on each other.
He also calls her they call each other my beloved, or at least FEEZAL calls her my beloved. And I don't know, I thought that was a really cute, like not nickname, but just sort of title to like give to your significant other. I don't know, my beloved. And they just seem so comfortable with each other and their sexuality. And like, Archer's like, you guys want some alone time? And FEEZAL is like, oh, it's fine. We can wait another couple hours.
I mean, look, they have a great relationship. Everything else around that is just disastrous, but them two, absolutely killing it.
Agreed.
Yeah. I mean, they get along so great, and meanwhile his wife is just like casually doing workplace harassment, and it's like, okay, well, if you just didn't have that part, it would be amazing.
Yeah, it was a bit strong perhaps, and definitely yes, it would be considered inappropriate.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine if you're in like the commissary of your your workplace and somebody fully took off their shoe and then just started rubbing it on your leg, not even under the table.
Yeah.
It's just on the side of the table with your sock, your sweaty sock. Ugh.
That was that was weird.
They really got a full shot of that.
Yeah, a couple shots of it.
Yeah, that was a lot.
It was
And
a choice.
throwing Hoshi under the bus like that. Unbelievable.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I love how like, she's kind of in the middle between this very briefly where Trip's like, no, please stay, eat the cobbler. and she's like, okay. And then she tries to show off her denobulin. And then, FEEZAL is just like totally, pushes her under the bus. And it was uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable, but like funny at the same time. It was hard.
Again, it's kind of a window into that era of like storytelling where like that kind of like rom-com, those kind of rom-com bits are what I think were played up a lot in those kinds of stories. You know, like that awkward, although like usually it's kind of like, it's sort of like a playing hard to get story, right? Where like she's trying to pursue him and he's kind of like, nah, I feel uncomfortable with this. But I guess one thing that Star Trek does kind of do a decent amount is they throw that on its head, where it's usually there's a woman trying to pursue the man. So we don't see that as often in a lot of these rom-coms, but so that's one element that's kind of a nice thing to see. It's a little refreshing, but
yeah, that occurred to me in my head while we were watching that. I was like, God, I feel like, if the genders, or, the sex was switched, like it would be a lot less funny and very
creepy. Scary.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is, I mean, I think
it also sort of falls into the like nymphomaniac thing where she's just like sort of this sex crazed denobulin, because she gets off the ship and just takes one look at him. He doesn't even talk. He doesn't even say hi, does he? I don't even think he says anything.
I think he says ma'am.
Ma'am. He says ma'am, and that's enough, It's like I've marked my prize. Even though there's a ship full of people who I'm sure would be more than happy to do whatever, she's just like, no, that's the one.
Yeah. And it does. I mean, it made me wonder. It's like, was it because he was, either awkward or kind of rebuffing and trying to put up this barrier? And she was like, no, I'm going to break down this barrier. So yeah, there's definitely some problematic things about that. I think and it's hard because as the audience, with context, that like Phlox has 2 other wives and FEEZAL has 2 other husbands, and sort of their polygamous culture and society. Like we kind of know that like you kind of suspect it's probably fine from their perspective. But as Trip points out later in the episode, he's like, I mean, even if it's okay with you, I mean, it doesn't feel okay to me. So, it was just never something he was going to.
That's what's so interesting about the B. And I get it's a B plot, so obviously they just sort of were like, doing whatever. But it wasn't like, it would have been one thing if he was like, hey, I really get along with this woman. I'm feeling a real connection here. And the struggle is, well, I don't want to move forward with your wife, even though I'm really feeling this pull. He doesn't ever seem interested at all. It always feels like he's being creeped out or creeped on. And that like, he's just really wants to figure out how to make this microscope work. And she's, putting her hands on him and getting too close to him. So it's very weird where it's like, I don't feel like the conversation is like, hey, your wife is interested and I don't know what to do. It's more like, hey, Phlox, could you please tell your wife to leave me alone? She's so creepy.
Yeah. The conversation did not go like that, which was interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess, he doesn't appear... Like he is often, he's always so awkward around it, and it's like a really uncomfortable thing for Trip. But I guess towards the end, I was questioning a little bit whether or not maybe he was like, I know he was uncomfortable when Phlox was like, oh yeah, it's totally fine, like that's part of it. But I wonder, like, because at the very end we have that button where he's like, oh, it's unfortunate you guys, didn't get together, and he's just like, well, I'm gonna take off here, and I don't know, like, is it? I think that's implying that they did, right?
I don't know. I didn't get that at all.
I wasn't sure if it was just like him still being awkward, but I was just like, is that implying? And like, cause she was grinning and he was just kind of like, I'm out. Like he didn't want to talk about it anymore. I was like, it feels to me like maybe they actually went through with it now that then he had kind of the quote unquote permission, I guess.
Wild. I didn't take that because like at the end of their conversation, his conversation with Phlox, he's kind of like, he basically puts up that like, okay, like once Phlox establishes like, whatever, like, whatever you guys can like, whatever,
Yeah.
physically be intimate, and like that's totally fine by our standards, and like, or it's normal. And Trip's like, that's just not like the way I am. But I felt like there that, I don't know, maybe, Phlox in that last bit where like Phlox is like, oh, too bad you guys didn't get to know each other better. Like I almost feel like Trip was like, I gotta go, because like, he wouldn't
Like he's over it.
Yeah, or FEEZAL would have been like, well, I don't have to leave for another couple hours, like before they can sort of.
Yeah, I think your interpretation is revealing more about you, Joe, than the actual episode.
That might be. I don't know. I totally thought they did it.
Although he does say the plasma's running a little hot. I know how it feels, so I don't know. But I almost felt maybe took that as like, I don't know, maybe he was like, and even in like the conversation with Phlox, he's like, I mean, yeah, she's attractive, but she's your wife. Like, I feel like he's kind of like, I can't deny that like it would not be like sort of tempting, but like also like the way that the way he was brought up,
his morality,
and his morality. Thank you. Yeah.
His southern hospitality,
his southern gentleman.
His 1962 southern ideology is poking through.
Yeah. I've been a perfect gentleman.
Exactly. It's funny in the same episode where they're like, we've done away with the discrimination, and meanwhile he's like, like a man has a husband, a man has a wife, and that is the most sacred bond that can ever exist between two people, and under no circumstances, even if I've been given full permission and they have multiple wives and multiple husbands, I will never break that code. It's like, okay.
It's
that balance, yeah.
It's an interesting. I can't help but think of what is the episode name? The one where Trip gets pregnant, but like sort of like he didn't realize that they were being.
He's constantly getting assaulted.
Kind of, actually, when you point it out that way, yes.
100%. Yeah, he absolutely gets assaulted in that episode. This place he gets harassed. I don't know what it is about the writers of Star Trek. We just were like, you know what? Trip's going to get it for 4 seasons. And it's just going to be torture for him. And that's going to be one of the main definitely a main theme of the first 2 seasons is people trying to hook up with Trip, who is like either confused or not interested, or is, being taken advantage of, basically.
When they always bring up, well, Trip, you wanted to like get to know alien cultures and stuff. And he's kind of like, yeah, but like not at this speed, or like not always in this context.
That's so true. Yeah.
Yeah. It always jumps straight to like sex.
Yeah.
We did get a kind of a little glimpse into some more Denobulan culture. I think Enterprise did a decent amount. I mean, that was a new species for Star Trek with the introduction of Enterprise, the Denobulans. But we learn early on that they're polyamorous, and there's 3. One Denobulan could have 3 wives, and all of his wives could have 3 husbands that on their own. So there's a whole bunch of relationship possibilities. And I think Phlox specifically has 5 kids, but within their like group, there's like 30 some kids or something. So we learn a little bit of family dynamics early on. But this was the episode that introduced that like their marriages are also like pretty open. Like they're like they don't have to stick within the confines for their like kind of fun or one night stands or hookups that they want to do.
Well, they don't get into it necessarily. He doesn't really explain too much about it. He's basically like, oh yeah, that's fine. But I mean, it almost seems like the way that Denobulans view sex and like its place in a relationship or whatever, like is clearly vastly different than the way that like, the human culture views it. So, but they don't really get into that, but it seems maybe that sounds confusing as hell, by the way. Oh my God. I have 3 wives. They each have 3 husbands. Like, yeah, that's bonkers. I mean, they make it work apparently. So, I mean, that's very interesting.
I think Phlox at one point in the series says like Denobulans don't like to be alone. They don't like solitude or whatever. Right. So like, I guess that kind of fits.
That's so depressing that you pointed that out, because I feel like Phlox, I mean, he's like the chief medical officer, and he, occasionally there's people like, helping him out in sick bay, but like he is largely kind of solitary on Enterprise.
He has all his pets.
Yeah, I know. That's probably why he has all those pets, and he's always like trying to like eat with people in the mess.
Yeah, that's right.
He's always like, let's eat together, and he's always like talking to people, which is great, but now that you point that out, I'm like, that's really kind of sad.
Oh yeah, poor PHLOX.
He should have tried to make Trip be his husband. I mean, at this point, it's like, just go all in, man.
Oh,
That is another point. Yeah, I wonder.
I saw this really interesting. I wrote this down too when I was doing research for this episode. There was actually a misconception that Connor Trenier had about how, I don't know if it was this season, how one of the seasons was going to go. But he thought that PHLOX and Trip were going to have an affair together.
That would have been amazing.
Because he walked into the writer's room and he saw like a note on the board that said PHLOX-Trip-trisexual. But it was actually referring to that, was it cogenitor? The one where I think there was the genderless character that he ended up having a thing with. So it was referring to that episode, but he, for a while before that, had thought like, oh, Trip and PHLOX are going to get it on.
I wish.
Yeah.
Wait, I wonder when that was, because like the way that Connor Trenier plays Trip in this episode, like I wonder if like,
maybe he had that in mind at this point.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
That would have made this episode a lot more interesting if there was like a love triangle where they're all kind of into each other. And more of a A plot. Maybe.
I mean, PHLOX was definitely nudging him. Like he was kind of like, take her up on a rose bath or whatever, which is hilarious to me. I told you this last night, the idea of like a bath of roses, like also being like a romantic thing to Denobulans is
they have roses there. I guess.
Yeah. It's hilarious.
They do the alien sniffing thing, but they still do like rose petal stuff.
I just want to give a quick shout out to Travis's abs in this episode also.
I know. The dude was looking good. That was honestly, I wrote this down when I was watching the episode. First off, he looked amazing. But second off, I wanted a full episode about flurgans and melons.
I may ask, what is the purpose of this sport?
They've got these Fargans. They're kind of like cows with humps, and they love melons. I think they're melons.
That is the most Star Trek gobbledygook. What a flurgan is the funniest thing I've ever heard. I could have watched a full episode about flurgans and melons, and it was actually very disappointing we didn't get to learn more about what a flurgan is, because that is truly a great name. There were a couple of great names in this. There was flurgans, and there was also the reflectometer. Just a horrible name. And I just was like, I just want to know more about what a flurgan is.
Yeah. I was bummed when Trip came into that scene because he was starting to explain what the game was going to be, and then they cut him off. It's like probably because the writers were like, I don't know where to go with this, but I was very interested. Like I wanted to see how he got that injury.
It's truly like one of the most shoddy pieces of writing where you're just like doing a Mad Libs, which is just like, there's flurgans and a melon, and you throw the melon back and forth. Then we're done.
Yeah. 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 I felt like they were kind of just trying to give Travis something to do in this episode. Because
they probably contractually had to give him something to say.
Yeah. Which he is criminally underutilized in a lot of the series.
Oh, yes.
Definitely.
Yeah. But it was welcome. Like you said, the abs were welcome.
Yeah, dude was jacked. Looking good, Travis.
Quick, going kind of back to the A plot. I just also wanted to point out, I wrote down, despite being massive assholes, the Vulcan medical people had sweet medical coats. There was just the way they were cut. They had this sort of shape to them, like this flare. It was, I don't know. I wrote it down. I was like, they actually have really cool medical coats. I mean, even though they're jerks, but
that's a good point. Yeah, sometimes they can have some pretty cool costuming on these shows. I feel like sometimes Star Trek has really like weird costumes, but yeah, those are kind of cool. They did a lot with Vulcan culture and Enterprise that I think was kind of interesting.
One thing that really bothers me about the whole thing is, I mean, despite the Vulcan prejudice stuff is, and I don't know if like either of you picked up on this, but all of the men were telling T'Pol what to do, basically. They're like, just tell them you were violated. Tell them it was against your will. Like the, both, no. Wait, Archer tells her that, and who else is there? I feel like there was another, is it PHLOX? It is PHLOX, yes.
And then there was other Vulcan
PHLOX
too.
and Archer and the other Vulcan had all told her that she should tell them, and she told each of them no. And like, not that she had to give a reason, but like her reason was good. And I almost feel like that, like that part of the A plot is probably some of the better writing, is where she's like, I don't want me telling them that it was against my will basically enables them to continue their prejudice and their oppression and condoning like their actions and attitudes. And I feel like is really powerful, and it's frustrating. I mean, I'm glad it wasn't Archer, that like kind of like spilled her beans and went against her wishes, even though like the Vulcan, what's his name?
Eurus.
Eurus.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. He had also gave her his word that he wouldn't say it, but then he kind of goes against that. So yeah,
it's
really
definitely
gross to see.
like peak Berman Trek, which is like men yelling at this woman in like, this tight jumpsuit to like tell this story. And I always feel like one of the things I like the least in Star Trek is when they sort of deal with sexual violence. It's just always feels wrong. And you can always just feel who is sort of at the helm of it, who's coming up with it. And it just always feels super uncomfortable. So I definitely noticed that as well. And just the whole time it was just, it's rough. It's really, really rough.
Absolutely. It's not unlike, TNG with Troy's pregnancy, and literally it's like her surrounded by like round table of men. They're all like, you should abort this pregnancy. And she's like, no. I'm like, no, just stop.
Can we not?
Yeah, the only thing that I noted, because I think I saw you had written down like all men telling her what to do, so I was thinking about it at the episode too. But the one thing I did notice is after I think Eurus did like spill her secret, they looked to Archer to confirm it. Like, and he was like, he did say, he's like, it seems like she doesn't want to talk about it, and I stand by that. And so I kind of appreciate that, even though Archer was kind of like, you should tell her or tell him before that. But so like, it was good that in the moment that he did support her. So I appreciate that.
Although later he does admit that he's like, selfishly, I'm glad that like you get to stay here.
Yeah.
Even though it was like not either what you wanted to do, and also like I don't know. I don't remember exactly how this shakes out. She's like, oh, I'm going to talk to the high command and try, and I don't know if we ever know what happens to Eurus, and do we?
At the end, they just say that he's going to have a hearing.
Yeah, I know, but like the outcome of that, because T'Pol's like, with your permission, I want to go and basically support him, and yeah.
I don't think they ever followed up.
Yeah.
I do think that Vulcans are great mini villains. They're so annoying. They're so stuck up. They're such assholes. Like whenever you make Vulcans the villain of an episode, it is really satisfying when they lose.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We also wrote down this quote when, I don't remember at one of the points when Archer goes down to the planet and he wants to speak to the lead doctor Orat, and then he's like busy, and the other doctor that he's talking to is like, perhaps I can help you, and Archer's just like, perhaps you can't.
Where's Orat? Dr. Orat isn't available. Perhaps I can help you. Perhaps you can't.
So pissed, like,
so satisfying.
Yeah.
So sassy.
Well, that's Dracula. There was from a technical standpoint too, it's interesting. I think Enterprise also of that Berman era Trek has some really good like ship shots, like the ship porn where you have like the ship over the planet looks really good. But then like we also have
oh my god, like, all those people. Oh my god, it looks so bad.
Video game graphics. It's like, oh man,
it looked so bad. I wonder if when I saw that in 2002 or whatever, I was just like, oh, this is awesome. This is so cool. Because watching it now, it truly looks like absolute garbage.
Yeah, it's rough. And I wonder, I bet part of it too is like when it was airing, it was on, TV and maybe the definition was different. But now it's like we were watching like, I think on Netflix, or we have the Blu-rays of it. And when you see it in high definition, it really, it's rough.
They really do look like just like square, like block sims, just like sort of moving back and forth all in unison. It's truly awful. It was so funny.
I know. It makes you really, not that I need a reminder, but really appreciate the newer shows, and like just the sheer amount of detail that goes into the visual effects are just absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, definitely a different level of CGI on the two shows.
Yeah.
I love that little episode, the little scene of like the bro talk between Malcolm and Trip while they're cycling.
Oh my god. What terrible advice. What terrible 2002 advice. Just like, yep, this is all your fault, and FEEZAL is going to kick the shit out of you if you say anything.
Oh, Malcolm. Oh yeah, I also real quick, the youngest Vulcan. I like how undescriptive that was when they were like, "Which one's Eurus?" And
Oh, that was
she's
another
like the
funny line,
youngest
yeah.
Vulcan, and I'm like, they all look like the same age. Another sort of, I didn't pick up on this the first time we watched it, but watching it again now, once after the Vulcans come and they sort of confront FEEZAL about why he wanted to ask about Panar syndrome, and then FEEZAL and Paul are back in Archer's ready room, and he's sort of like giving them an earful because he lied to them, and he's like, "When were you going to tell me about your serious illness?" And I was like, "You're just like you're her boss. Like you don't have a right to know about like her like private medical information." Like it was kind of wild.
Yeah, Archer definitely has like a streak of like getting in everyone's business and being everyone's like authoritative dad, and telling everyone what to do and how the best way to do it is. Let me get in there. I feel like he's always saying, let me do this. Let me deal with this.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I like how FEEZAL kind of fired back. He's like, actually your culture has this patient doctor confidentiality thing, and I respect that, and rude.
Yeah. I was looking at, I had this thought at the end of the episode, which was not that Trip and whatever her name was got together, but it almost felt to me like FEEZAL and his wife were playing a practical joke on him. Like FEEZAL was in on it the whole time. And FEEZAL had told his wife, like, "Oh, I bet if you go after this dude, he'll get totally flustered and be totally embarrassed. It'll be super funny." And they sort of had this like smile at the end where I was like, was FEEZAL in on that? And like, were they talking about, I mean, they must have had conversations in the interim where they're like, yeah, I'm like sort of going for him. And he's like, oh, I bet he's like totally blushing and bashful and everything. It's so funny.
That's interesting, but maybe. Huh.
Well, they gotta have that. The last thing that they say together when then they laugh is like humans. Like
Exactly.
Eye roll, yeah.
it's not unlike at the end of the original series all the time where like the main three are like talking about something and like, they make some sort of point about Spock and like Vulcan culture, and they're like, oh, Spock being a weirdo.
Yeah, the eye roll and then the laugh it off.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I like to imagine that it was just one big practical joke. It makes it easier to swallow and way more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, there's definitely like an air, like even if it's still if it is a practical joke, like an air of like, oh, humans, they're so like kind of stuck up, or like they're so like stiff, and it is. I kind of like the notion that like other cultures view us as like a little bit stiff. Yeah, prudes. Yeah,
especially compared to like with Vulcans in this episode. I mean, talk about prudish.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Like to a fault for sure.
Yeah. Before we do move on to like our patented rating scale and all that, I think I wrote down the line. I found in my notes the line you were talking about being about intimacy. It was Eurus who says it at the very end. He says,
There is no simple definition of intimacy.
and I think you're right. I think that's like kind of the narrative through line between the two A, they and B plot, right? Like intimacy is just it's all like miscommunications or misjudgments or just people kind of passing each other in the night, like not really getting the mixed signals is what I'm trying to say. Mixed signals of unlike what constitutes intimacy or what somebody wants from somebody else, and where especially in the Trip FEEZAL one, if like they all would have just talked in the beginning, it may have been a lot better.
Yeah, maybe.
Right. She really could have just laid it out. If they're so open, she could have just said, like, here's the deal. Here's what my husband thinks. Up to you. It's like it's weird for, all that flirtation to be so sort of like covert or unspoken when they're at the same time completely open and comfortable with everything.
Yeah, and again, that falls into the old school like rom-com tropes. It feels like
right.
Where it's all just a misunderstanding that kind of makes the whole plot move forwards.
Right.
So I don't know.
Maybe that plays into Noah's idea about your idea about maybe like there was just a joke they were playing the whole time.
It could be. That could be evidence of it.
I mean, the thing is though, like I think this episode kind of highlights. Now that we're talking about it, it makes me think that if the way that intimacy is displayed or experienced by a culture or society or race, I guess, when you're talking about alien races, like is a very, it's one of the things, and even in like our own society, you know, that like people care a lot about, even if it's like not their business. You know what I mean? Just, I don't know, like it's like a really judged thing, you know? I mean, if that makes sense, like it's one of the things that people get like the most like upset about, you know, if like, you know, like the Vulcans are like, this is just non-negotiable. We're not even going to talk about it. Like it's unacceptable by our societal standards. And like, you know, they put up this like boundary or circle as to like what, you know, although I don't really know what, you know, Vulcan intimacy, you know, it's almost like devoid of intimacy really, because I mean, like, you know, you don't show emotion and like you can't like really share like thoughts and emotions like through mind melds.
Yeah, at this point,
and they're also like not incredibly physically, from what we see, they're not incredibly physically like, you know, openly intimate, you know, unless again, it's, you know, sort of like this biological must every, you know, Ponfar is supposed to be every 7 years, right? So, and even then it's kind of like, shoot, like we got to do this and like get it over with, just for survival, as opposed to like it being ingrained into their like culture and like connecting with people like on an intimate level, you know, I don't know. Whereas like interestingly, the Denobulans are clearly the opposite, where they're like, you know, whatever, like physical things and like talking about intimacy and being intimate with like whoever you feel like being intimate with, like is totally open. And, you know, even like the smelling act or greeting that they give each other. I mean, like that's a pretty intimate thing. You're like really in someone's face and like close to like their face and their skin, and inhaling someone's like scent. I mean, your scent is a pretty personal thing. And so, and then they're openly like exchanging this greeting in front of other people where like, you know, even like Vulcans don't even shake hands, you know, it's like
they just wave at each other from a distance.
So yeah, I don't know. Those are, I guess, some of my thoughts about intimacy and culture. And yeah.
Yeah, definitely sounds like it would be way more fun to be a Denobulan. Not only do you get to have multiple partners, but you get to gossip about them too. I love that they're just like gossiping. The Vulcans can't even, you know, just doing medical experiments on a random planet somewhere.
You're talking about like the Denobulans too and how they view intimacy. Actually made me think of that one episode. Remember when the one where Porthos is sick and Archer's in sick bay all night? Is it One Night in Sick Bay? What it's called?
A Night in Sick Bay.
A Night in Sick Bay. Remember, like, because Archer's like having those weird like pseudo feelings for T'Pol, which was really uncomfortable. But Phlox's advice was just like
worst.
He was just like, you know, just hook up and just get it out of your system, and it makes more sense now that he has that viewpoint. I'm like, come on, Phlox, it's no, we don't want that. But I get it now.
Yeah, that does put that into perspective, and also how he's like, you know, I mean, like just be done with it, you know, instead of like suppressing it. Like, yeah, I mean, if you think about it, like it seems like Vulcans suppress everything, and then humans kind of suppress a lot of their like sort of physical sexual urges, and then Denobians are like, don't suppress anything, just do what you're gonna do.
Yeah. And kudos to John Billingsley though; he brings such charisma to that role. Like
he does, he's best.
So good. Yeah, I love him.
Noah, did Joe give you the rating system?
I have your rating system. Let me pull it up here.
So our Deep Space Love rating system is always in the show notes, and we've described it in the first couple episodes. But so if you want to check it out there. But it's basically a 5-point scale from red alert as the lowest, yellow alert, fascinating, fully functional, and then resistance is futile being the hot, red hot option. So we're going to go through and just share our thoughts on kind of what we thought of the sort of the relationship romance element of this episode at play. And Noah, since you're the guest, we'll maybe have you go last this time since I had to go first earlier. So Nicole, do you want to start us off?
I think I'd probably give this a little bit of a yellow alert.
Yellow alert.
Or a lot of yellow alert. I guess that's what I'm going with.
A little bit of it.
Yeah. It was hard because you know, there was such different interpretations of what was happening between the two parties, between Trip and FEEZAL, Phlox's wife. So I think because, like, you know, I mean, Trip was not open to it really ultimately. So I think, like, you know, I can't even really in my opinion, they really couldn't go higher because it's borderline harassment, basically, like what Noah pointed out. But I also feel like maybe if it had gone on a little bit longer or like they'd had more time, maybe like Trip would have maybe opened up to it a little bit, or if there'd been better communication. Like, I feel like it seems like there would have been nothing necessarily wrong about, a casual hookup between them, if Trip had been into that. But I think the way she went about it was not good overall. But I don't know. I think that's kind of where I'm at.
Solid yellow alert.
Solid yellow alert. Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually had written my thing down last night, and now I kind of change it in my head a little bit. I had initially said fascinating, but now I veer more towards yellow alert because it's fascinating to me if my interpretation is correct and Trip ended up going through with it and having like the hookup. Because I was like, that implies that maybe he was just into it and just needed to think about it a different way.
But as we've established, you were completely wrong, so you had to change your idea.
So yeah. So my new idea, if that is wrong, and I'm going to say, listeners, if you want to let us know who you side with on this, you feel free. But I'm going to get a lot of negative.
Yeah, go ahead,
on
listeners.
That, aren't I?
Go ahead.
I'm opening up a can of worms. But anyway, if the interpretation I think the majority here has, I would definitely go down to a yellow alert because it's like really uncomfortable, awkward, like pressuring, like it doesn't work. I don't think it's like the most red alert of things we've seen. There's a lot of worse elements that we've seen in Trek, from our standpoint or from what we've seen, but especially other elements where they've tackled, like you said, Noah, like different kinds of sexual violence topics. But I think what's pushed a little bit higher to me is just the sort of glimpse that we get into Denobulan culture. I think that like their system of just being really open and their polyamory or polygamy seems to be just like a really cool like cultural thing to see and like kind of a thing to develop in Star Trek and Enterprise in general. And I liked that. I felt like that was pretty forward thinking in terms of the writers of like having that being a main cast member who has that piece in his backstory. And I think we even see like Dr. FEEZAL have some romances with other members of the crew at some point. And so we see like the openness of their relationships that they have. And I think that element is what's the most like healthy to me is just like the Denobulan side of it. But the way that they kind of brought in Trip and the way that like that was kind of played out, that brings it down to a yellow alert ultimately. And especially if he decided to just say, nah, I'm not into it. And they kind of still were like, oh, come on. Like you got to like respect the wishes. So yeah, it's down there in a yellow alert for me, I think.
I almost wonder if Trip maybe enjoyed a little bit of the flirtation once he realized that like it wasn't going to offend FEEZAL, but like I think he definitely didn't want to go to a physical experience.
So maybe he had the rose petal bath.
I don't know what that involved. We have no idea. That was
I don't know. Noah, what do you think?
I'm splitting my answer in two. I'm saying the FEEZAL trip is a red alert. Just terrible. She's not listening to him at all. He's constantly trying to get away from her. It's really creepy and uncomfortable. And they're supposed to be working together. So, doubly bad. He's on the clock. But I will say that the FEEZAL, whatever her name is, Flurgans. Flurgans. Let's call her Flurgan.
FEEZAL, like to like combine their like FEEZAL and FEEZAL like as a power couple.
FEEZAL and FEEZAL.
Yeah.
I'm going resistance is futile.
Resistance is futile.
They're the best. Obviously, they've got it completely figured out. FEEZAL needs to have a good talking to with his wife about, how to approach things with a bunch of humans. Maybe she's just not clear on human culture. But, they seem to have it really figured out, a good relationship. So I'm all in on that.
I didn't think about that, but I think I would agree.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. I feel like that
I think about their relationship.
You sort of like, in better words than I did, explain why I was teetering a little bit because I think the Denobulan side of things was cool.
Yeah, he separated it.
Yeah,
much
he
better
separated
than
much
you
better
did.
than I did. And
Yes,
I'm also
of
impressed
course.
because like you also, similar to like Dominic on the last episode, successfully did another red alert resistance is futile together, which I'm just in awe of. So way to go.
Yeah,
You're
I've
welcome.
loved this.
Yeah, it's fun to have new people on because I feel like we had like a definition of the rating in our head, and like other people
It's
approaching it
expanding,
is just
as it
making it
should.
so much more interesting.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yes, it's growing with every guest.
I love it. I think that's most of what we have for the episode, but I wanted to ask you, Noah, before we go our separate ways. You mentioned, so DS9 is kind of your main home base right now, but you sort of come back to Enterprise a little bit as like one that you kind of have a fondness for. What is it that you have tended to like about Enterprise, and what draws you to it?
Well, it's two things about Enterprise. The first is that it's the series that I really like grew up watching episode to episode. So I feel like it's easy to maybe ignore it or write it off, but because it was the one that I really grew up with, not watching reruns with, I really have to kind of take it seriously. And I also think it's a series where you can't, everything that is Star Trek, good and bad, is on display. You can't like pick and choose when it comes to Enterprise. Like I feel like with Next Gen, you can really pick and choose. I love these great episodes, and then we'll never talk about the ones that are terrible. And with DS9 and the other ones as well. With Enterprise, it is just all on display all at once. All of the sort of like backwards, 2000s rom-com jokes that don't work anymore, and the sort of campiness of Enterprise, and like just all the things that are just like, this sucks, but also all the things that make it great, which are just how goofy and silly, but also how serious it takes itself. So I just feel like in terms of a series that sort of like sums up all of Star Trek from the beginning, in a weird way, I think Enterprise gets everything and puts it all out there, and then you have to decide whether or not you can handle it or not.
I think that's a good way to put it. We just finished our first kind of run through Enterprise all the way through just like a couple months ago, and I mean, it was quite a ride,
yes,
especially for me, because I started out because we'd watched all the other series, or we had begun and ended most of all the other series, and so this was last for me personally, as opposed to you, knowing, having grown up with it. And so I started out and I was like, why are we watching this one? Just like hands over my face, like over most of the first half of the first season, and even kind of beginning of the second season. But then I was so upset and sad when it ended and the way it ended. So Enterprise now has a little piece of my heart, and it's wild how it does. Like you said, sometimes you're like, oh, sometimes you don't deserve this piece of my heart, but a lot of the times you do.
It's true. I think that definitely resonates.
To also say, Enterprise is the series that got you more into Trek novels.
Oh, is this true?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because of that ending, like we actually got into like the Enterprise like relaunch books because they fix it in a sense, and
amazing.
It's actually worth it.
True.
Yeah.
I devoured a few of those books, yes.
Yeah, and we got some more coming on the way in the mail.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, they're pretty good. They're worth. I think that's all we have, right? Is there anything, Noah, that you want to like plug or tell folks to look out for before you head out?
Oh, follow me on Twitter. And, I started a Twitch channel where we're playing Star Trek Online, and I'll play a bunch of other Star Trek and sci-fi games. And I think it's been really fun so far. So come hang out with me there. And if you're at Star Trek Las Vegas, come say hi.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, you're going to be there.
I'm super excited. Very nervous, but very excited.
Oh, cool. Well, good luck. Best of luck there.
Thank you.
I wish we were going. We were going to go last year, and I was so it's hard to even talk about. I was so mad.
It was going to be our first time. Yeah.
Yeah.
It will happen again and again and again. So this won't be the last time. So maybe next year.
Yeah, true. And hopefully the whole world is in a little bit better situation.
Yes, it will be a strange time out there, but it will also maybe be a lot of fun.
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah. Have a good time.
Thank you.
And definitely. Yeah. Folks, go say hi to Noah.
Please do. I'll just be probably sitting at a table, or maybe I'll go shopping. Say hi if I'm shopping too.
Are you signing autographs and doing photos?
I am. Yeah. I've never done it before. So everyone will probably look at me and be like, who the fuck are you?
I think the Rin fans are out there, the disco fans.
Yes, there are some Rin fans.
There'll be some Rin fans, and then there'll be everybody else, which will be like, why do they like this dude? He's really tall and weird.
Oh, I doubt it.
Well, if we're ever there, we'll come to your table.
Hell
I
yeah.
promise.
Absolutely.
And speaking of Twitter, we have one too at DS Love Pod if you want to follow and keep up on content and all our other Trek witticisms. And otherwise, until next time, love long and prosper, everyone.